read values from an array. Like, so how we can add values into array. These are the two things we learned. So reading elements from array, adding elements into array. And one more basic thing we need to understand is how to remove elements from array. Actually, to remove elements from array, we have functions. So we have a function and description, right? We have a function and description. Slice is used to extract, and the splice is used for adding and removing. Mr. Kumar, are you clear? Slice is used for accessing based on index number. Accessing. Splice is for adding and removing. And last session we saw adding new items into array at any specific position that we done by using splice. Clearly I explained with examples also. You are there in yesterday's session. Clearly we discussed about slice and splice, how to use. Example also I posted. Have you seen that? Right. If you haven't seen, one more time, see here in remove option also you will come across. What are the various functions and how do we deal with the functions related to remove elements from an array? Actually, in order to remove elements from array, we have few important array functions. What are those array functions for removing elements from array? Technically, to remove elements from array, the functions we are having, one is pop. It removes the last element. Actually, it removes and returns the last element. Similarly, we have shift. So shift, it removes and returns first element. And you have splice again. This time splice, it removes element from specific index. So it removes elements from specific index. So we can remove the last item, you can remove the first item, and you can remove any number of elements by using splice from any specific index. So at specific index, we can remove them, right? That's how we can use splice. Let's see one example for that. So we are having this function currently. Yeah, this is a demo. Let's run this and see. Yeah. So in the command, yeah. And here tsc demo.ts, node demo.js. So we are having two elements in the array. One is electronics and fashion. So some more elements can be there inside it. So here I'm adding one more, like some footwear. Okay. And compile and run, we are printing these three. Okay. I want to remove the last element. Then what we can do is, to remove the last element from array, we have to use, one is array name. Array name is, we have the categories. And here we have to define dot pop. Actually, pop will remove the last element and it can return that element also. So what I will do is, here let string. So let string type, and the variable name, right? Let variable name string type. So I said removed item. It is a string type. Now I'm defining. That means the removed item is stored in that variable. I'm just keeping here console.log. So removed item, and I will just keep here. Removed item means the name of the item removed, and I will keep a message removed from list, removed from collection. This message we are giving, and after that we will just print list again. Print list yesterday we returned to iterate through all the categories and print them. And here I am defining. I will compile and run this one more time. You can see pop. It says that currently we have electronics, fashion, and footwear. That is the collection. And footwear removed from collection. And we have only electronics and fashion. That means what the purpose of pop? Pop will remove and return the last one. So it is not available inside the collection anymore. We removed it. And not just removing it, it pops, and you can catch that removed item. You can store in any reference, and you can later use that removed one. So which item removed? We can capture that by using this. So pop removes always the last item. The last item removed is footwear. So if you want to remove the first item, that is what actually the pop function is. So example, this is the pop, how to remove the last. This is pop. So similarly, you can try shift. Shift removes the first one. It removes and returns. Shift. It removes and returns the first one. And I will compile and run this. This time I am using shift. And you can observe here when I am using shift, this time first item is removed, means electronics is removed. Now fashion moves to 0 index, right? And this footwear. So items are removed. You can remove the first, you can remove the last. That is how we can manage the items removing. So this is removing of first element. So we can use shift for removing the first element. If I want to remove any specific element, we can use splice now. Splice is used for both adding and removing. So I want to remove fashion. If I want to remove fashion, then what we can do here is, here one point is there. So splice will remove, and splice can remove multiple. That's the reason the return value of splice will be an array. Splice will be an array. That means here categories dot splice, and splice from which index number? From one index number. How many you want to remove from that index number? One I want to remove. That's it. That means previously when we used this splice function in our previous approach, so from which index you want to add, how many you want to remove, and what are the new items to add. That is the syntax we defined. When you are removing, the splice function will be simple. It will be start index and it will be delete count. Remember, this is delete count. Means how many you want to delete, you can put a number, 2, 3, 4, any number. It will delete all of them from that particular index. Currently only one from that particular index. Okay. And here you have an error for this. Yes, that's what I am showing here. So here, this is returning an array because you can remove more than one. Now you have an error inside this remove item. It says that the result of this splice is not a single value. It is actually array. In the array, there can be one or many. That means this is not an array representation. Pop and shift always remove only one item. In that case, here you can configure this as an array. A removed item is an array, string type array. That means how we can get that removed item. You can get that removed item because if you want to read all the removed items, then you can write a loop again here. Or I can just access, because only one item being removed here, I can access it will be at 0 index. Removed item 0, because the removed item will be at that particular property, right? Yeah. Now, when I run this, so you can see it should display the removed item, and you can see fashion is removed from collection. Fashion is removed from collection. Only electronics and footwear is present. At one index, what is there, it is gone. So you can remove one or multiple. If you are removing multiple, obviously here you will have more than one. Then you can access them in various ways. We know all the techniques. You can use .toString or join. You can read all the items that are removed, or you can write another loop to read all the elements removed, because splice is a function that returns the array of removed items. So technically, so what splice will do is it removes the elements from that specific index, and returns an array of removed items. So it will return the array of removed items, an array of removed items. So it's mandatory that when you splice, the result must be stored in an array type. Otherwise, it cannot handle. So this is an example for splice, how we can remove items from specific index that you can manage by using splice. So technically, how we can add items into array, how we can remove items from array, and how we can read items from an array. These are the basic things we need to know. Array manipulation, so much is there. So many options are there. That's all JavaScript. So I can't teach again complete JavaScript here for your sake, right? So because this is not JavaScript section, but I already told you, you should have prior knowledge of JavaScript for handling any type of web technology, especially Angular-like. But even you don't have some basic things which are required regularly, I explained. And if you are a JavaScript learner, you know all this. This is not a new point at all. All these are general JavaScript functions only, which are used by the TypeScript also. So no change in them. Exactly, it can use everything as they are available in ES5 and ES6 latest version. So I have given some important array functions which are required regularly, and we will use them in our Angular whenever the situation comes. So technically, 3 important things I showed you. Some more points are there. Suppose like sorting array, how you can sort array. Usually to sort the elements in an array, we have function. And 2 important functions are there for sorting, because what regularly needed, right? We are discussing them. One is sort. Actually, it arranges the elements in ascending order. Arranges the elements in ascending order. And we have reverse. This reverse, it arranges the elements in reverse order. So important is not descending order. Reverse order means that is from you can say from right to left. That means you can say, or you can say like it can be like bottom to top. So right to left or bottom to top, you can say that. So technically the point is it is not descending order, reverse order of how they are arranged, how they are arranged. So that means sort will arrange in ascending order. Reverse will will be in reverse order of how they are actually stored in the memory. That means, see here, suppose we are having some array elements. This time I will just keep this simple, means how they are. I will keep it simple like this. So the collection name, so I will define as values. Okay. And here I am configuring some string values. So like A, like D, like C, and like B, to just get more better quality for that. And here I need to perform iteration values, and we have to print the values properties and all values. Okay, this is print list is printing them. So we just created one array that contains the values like this, A, D, C, B, like this. Now before this is printing, after printing I will put here values dot sort, and I will print the sorted list. That means console.log. I am just defining here sorted list. I am printing that sorted list. Means after using the sort function, I will read those values again. That means print list again. This time after sorting it, when you print, this time it should print in sorted list. You can see sort, and after that you are printing the list again. Then initially the list comprises of like this. This is the list. So actually that is A, D. So that is A, D, C, B, like this. And now it is arranged A, B, C, D. The values are arranged in order in the memory. They shift the memory location and bring them into that and keep them in order, A, B, C, D. That is the order. And very important is, actually if I use reverse, instead of sort, I am using reverse. Now when I am using reverse, let's compile and run this again. And you can observe that reverse is not descending order. You see, actual order is A, D, C, B. And from the bottom to top, so B, C, D, A. That's how it will arrange. So that means that is the reverse order. Usually you can apply one technique. What we can do is, first we can put values dot sort. It will be in ascending order. After ascending order, reverse. It will apply reverse on ascending order. Reverse on ascending order means it will be in descending order now. In the descending order, it will display those values. So that means now it will be better. You can print in ascending order and again reverse. It will be in reverse order. Now it will be better. Now you can see here, first what it will do is, it will arrange in ascending order. After that, rearrange them in descending order, right? Because it is reverse, then it looks like descending order. You can see these arranges the values. So sorting also very common and very much required regularly while dealing with arrays. That's the reason we need to know about this point also. I'm concentrating on only the points that we need regularly in our Angular. So that's generally how we work with this. Because when we are dealing with data, we will learn about sorting the data, filtering the data, adding the values, removing the values dynamically. We create a UI in our Angular for this. So that at that moment, these points will be very important to remember, right? Like how we can sort and how we can reverse. So this is one simple example of sort and reverse, how we can configure sort and reverse. So first we are sorting and then we are reverse. Another one more option is regularly asked here is how we can search for values in an array. Earlier, it's a very complex thing, but now in JavaScript, they have designed a find function. They have designed a filter function. Searching is easy now. Earlier, we have to use, that means if I have to search for any value in array, if I have to search for any value in array, so we have function. So what are the functions we need to use? Actually, we need to use the function index of. We need to use the function last index of. So, but now in advanced versions, we never use index of, last index of anymore. Those days gone. We can use find and we can use filter, which I told you. Find and filter functions are more better and advanced than when we compare to index of and last index of. We can search for the values and we have defined that. Important is no more index of, last index of, because index of is nothing but it can search index of, it can search for value, it can search for value in array and return its index number and return its index. Usually one of the main point is here, if value not found, then it returns -1. If value not found, it returns -1. And I hope you remembered this. I told you in string also. While working with string handling, I given you these options also, index of and all, right? So technically, I showed you in string functions how to use them. If you remembered, I hope everyone remembered that. And what is last index of? It can search for value. So in array, and return the last occurrence index. It will return the last occurrence index number. It can return the last occurrence index number, right? That's what we can do. And no need to explain this because already we discussed these in the concept of characters. Means we learned about this. So while dealing with the string function, I already explained index of, last index of. The new options you need to learn here is find and filter, which already I showed you. So while reading, I showed you how we can find, how we can filter. Find will return the first occurrence, and filter will give the every occurrence. Earlier, in order to find every occurrence, we need to write a logic and implement that. But now it is simple to handle. We don't need to define any complex logic for that. So just filter, we can access and use them. So these are all important functions that you need to know while dealing with array. Remember, so many other functions are there in JavaScript for dealing with arrays, right? That general JavaScript thing you have to learn, and those are continued everywhere. Now, whenever the situation comes, and if I have to use any new function and you are not able to understand, at that moment I will explain what is it and how it works, right? Other than that, in JavaScript only you have to learn all these functions and descriptions, how they handle, right? But this is enough for working with arrays in TypeScript, how you deal with TypeScript, okay? Right. Now, here, one more new thing you need to understand is about array destruction. So one new important concept you need to know about arrays is array destruction. So destruction is also very regularly used and we need that. So array destruction is nothing but the memory allocated. That means the memory allocated for array. So we have to destruct that. That means we need to separate them and individually access the elements from array. That is destruction of array. For example, I will show you the point here. What is array destruction and how to deal with array destruction? Technically, if I have to deal with destruction of arrays, so actual destruction is nothing but, suppose we have values, and it is an array. So we stored some values into this. So like 10, 20, and 30, some values are stored into it. Now, what is the key point here is, so I want these three elements to handle individually. I need to pick them from that memory and I want to individually deal with them. So I don't want to use anymore like an array. I want to separate them and use them. And very important is without disturbing the array. Without disturbing this array, I need to destruct this array and must able to deal with these elements separately. That is the key point we need to handle here. So let's see how we can manage that. What is the destruction? How we can configure that? In earlier techniques, suppose I want three different variables, var x, so var y, and var z. So we have three variables. Into these three variables, I need to collect those three values. Then we have an habit of like this, values of 0, right? Values of 1 and values of 2. So that means we are bringing the information from those properties and we are storing in these references. Now we can individually deal with them with x, y, and z. Our main intention is not to maintain any relationship between them anymore in the memory. I want to separately deal with them. Right? This is what we need. This is what we call destruction. We need to destruct the array elements so that individually we can work that. So this is the requirement actually. This is the requirement, and earlier we need to do like this. But now we have a destruction technique. By using this destruction technique, we can easily handle this mechanism. What is that array destruction technique and how to handle that? Let's see. For example, now we have these values here. So let's keep that. The same thing I will explain here. Values is a number type array. And here we defined 10, 20, and 30. And here I am configuring so let variables, and I want to configure multiple variables. Then multiple means you have to use a meta character, and here I am configuring A, B, and C. These are the three variables. Into those three variables, we are just assigning the values memory. That's it, finish. That means now whatever the values are there in this particular memory index, that means the 10 value, the first value, the 10 value will be stored into the reference of A. The 20 value will be stored in the reference of B. That means it is creating three different variables. And the values from the array are collected and stored into these references. That's it, done. That means now if I want to access these values, like suppose console.log, I want to print A. That means A is equal to $A. And I want to print B is equal to $B. And I want to print C is equal to so $C. So I need to print those three values here. Separately, we are dealing with them. Now these three variables handling these three values, and I will compile and run this. And you can see that it is handling those three values here. I will use /n, yeah, fine. Okay, you can see A, B, C values are configured with those three, and the values are defined in this way. That means A is 10, B is 20, and C is 30. So this is destruction of array. This is required in so many occasions because later in object-oriented programming, I will show you how they are correctly utilized actually. Because for this we need so good example. For example, see, this is okay, this is fine. That means destruction is nothing but it is a technique A technique used is the technique used to destruct the structure of array and retrieve the elements and retrieve the elements from array in order to store in individual memory references. That's what actually the main technique is. Destruct the structure of array and retrieve the elements from array in order to store in individual memory references. So this is a simple example how we destruct. This is a simple example how we destruct. I will show you here the values, the configurations, how generally done is. For example, I am creating LET. So I will define as arithmetic, or say calculator, something like calculator. Okay, calculator. So this is calculator. Generally, if I am storing a set of functions, technically speaking, so better to use the word factory. So in software terminologies, factory is a collection of functions, right? So we are dealing with factory. Factory is any type. Factory is any type array. And in this, we are adding a function. So we are adding a function in the memory index. This is a function configured. And what this function is doing is it is taking the values of a comma b, and it is returning a plus b. That's how the function is configured in the memory. In the second memory, so we have defined a function. So this function is accepting the values like so C and D, sorry, A and B again, and this time so it is returning A asterisk B. That means technically now we have an array of functions. And remember, later I will tell you detail about functions, because the situation came. That's the reason I'm explaining, because we have a separate session on functions. We will discuss detailing. You should know that if a function is defined without a name, there is no name defined for the function. Function without name are known as, usually we call them as anonymous functions. So why we need anonymous functions, in what situation we use anonymous functions, I will give you a detailed concept when we are learning about the function. Currently, the functions that are defined here, the functions are not having any name, but they are present in the array. This is at 0 property and this is at 1 property. That means they don't have a name. Then how you will access them? We have to use the reference of properties 0 and 1. Then what we can do is we can create, so here LET, we can create LET. Here add is one, another one multiply, MUL is another one, and is equal to, we will assign that factory into it. That means now add and multiply are the two references which are functions. And here I am printing, so console.log, I am printing here addition. And how we can define addition, I will write here the expression. We have to call that add function, add, and add is a method. Into the add method, I am passing two value 10, 20 like this. Because add is referring to the first memory index. So that means it is accessing that function and using that functionality. That means now add is a function type, And I want multiplication here. So I want multiplication here. We say multiply. And here we need to define MUL. So it is MUL is a function. Into that we are passing some 5, 4. So we are configuring these values in this way. and we are printing them. So technically what we have done here is we destructed those functions from an array, and we are individually dealing those functions now. So technically how this works now, when I call this, the functions are configured into the memory. I will run this, then it should show this addition is 30, multiply is 20. That means it is able to destruct this and bring them, and we can individually handle them. Now actually add and multiply are functions. Add and mul are functions. So because you defined a factory contains collection of functions, and those functions every time to access by the property indexes and use them, it is difficult. Then individually we can configure them, retrieve them. Individually we can store in the memory references, and we can easily handle those functions anywhere. So this is the approach generally why we need destructions and where we need destructions, right? This is destruction of array. This is the destruction of array. So technically destructing of array. So this is another example for destructing an array. And whatever we have the details about this, right? So whatever the details we have here, right? So about the functions, how do we pass parameters into the functions? What are the function parameters? So those all points we are going to discuss about the functions concept. Now don't talk about functions anymore, right? This is not the class of functions. When we learn functions, we will learn so many things about them. We will just talk about what is the technique of destruction, because how to write functions, configure them, these are all so many things we need to understand, right? We need to handle them later, right? So you will have so many doubts about functions. Keep it with you, because when we learn functions, you will get clarity on them. Here our intention is to understand destruction, not function, right? I just given you an example of how actually they are done in real world, right? Generally where we use how to handle the destructions and define them. So these so many examples, when we practice, we can see this destruction coming into picture in various occasions, right? Yeah. So this is all about that you have to know and understand about the concept of working with the arrays. Technically, what is an array type? How do we configure the array, declare the array, and define the array? These are all the things we need to understand. Next, after knowing about the array types, so after working with the arrays, so the basic, as I already told you, so all these are JavaScript based functions. Then you will have a better idea of understanding that in JavaScript, and these are enough at this level in the TypeScript, how to handle them. So now another important type we need to understand is about an object type. Actually, object type, technically what is an object type? That means in our non-primitive types, we have array type, that is the first thing we done. Another one is an object type. Technically, what is an object type and what is an object? Usually, already I told you. So generally, so how this concept works, we will see that. Technically, so the first important thing you need to know is object in computer programming. Object in computer programming comprises of data and logic. Object in computer programming comprises of data and logic. Technically, it comprises of data and logic. And the concept of object was introduced by Alan Kay. Alan Kay introduced the concept of object into computer programming. So in the early 1967, Alan Kay introduced the concept of object. Actually, one of the main problem earlier he was facing with, and It was first time used with a language called Smalltalk. It was first implemented in a language called Smalltalk. Actually, that object concept was introduced and used here. So after that, object-oriented programming was invented that you will learn in OOPS concept. But the concept of OOP was later. Before OOP, object is there. We have object-based programming also. Earlier, JavaScript, VB, all these are supporting only object-based. Now they are supporting object-oriented, right? So in early versions, we don't have the support of object-oriented. So we have only support of object-based. What is difference you will understand when we learn about OOP concepts in TypeScript, right? Initially, the point is, what is the intention of the object? The intention of object is keep all related type of data and logic together. That means keep all related type of data and logic together. That is the main intention. It was introduced for that purpose. And very important is data is stored in properties. Data is stored in properties, and logic is defined in functions. In JavaScript, data is stored in properties and logic is defined in functions. So let's see how we can handle this object, how we can configure the object, how we can define the object. Let's see. Technically, suppose I want to deal with a lot of data. So let's create a folder for us. That's a new folder here I defined as objects. Okay, let's add a new file here, demo.ts. Fine. Here, initially, I'm declaring some values like let. So name is a string type, is suppose some TV. And let, price, this is a number. So, and it's have some value. And let, in stock, it is a boolean. And it is having some true. And let, quantity, so it is a number, is equal to, so some 2. And let, so we have a total is any is equal to, it is a function. It is a function. And this total function has to return, so quantity into price. Now, important is you have some data and logic, but all are related to each other, but they don't have any relationship between them now. Remember, actually data and logic is related to each other, but this is not having any relationship now. This is not having any relationship. All are independent. That means now can you tell me, is this price belonging to TV? Is that price belonging to TV? Is the price belonging to TV? Can you tell me, is that price belonging to TV? No, it's not belonging to TV. We don't have any relation at all. That price, it can be used with anyone. Am I right? That means the intention of object is to keep all the related data together. To keep all the data, related data and logic together. That is the main intention. So then what we can do here is we can define in this way now. What we can do is we can create let. So product is an object type. This is an object type. Product is an object type. The object keyword is used to configure object type. This object type is new in TypeScript also. Actually, in TypeScript early versions, we don't have object. TypeScript 3.7, 3.8, 3.9. These versions only supporting this object type. Early versions of TypeScript don't have this object type. So that's the reason you will have a problem in dealing with this object if you are not configuring the versions correctly. Configuring of versions, I told you, we will discuss in a separate session, right? So as of now, this is the new type. And how we can keep all the data together. We have to encapsulate by using the flower brace like this. In this, we need to keep all the data together. So how we need to keep the data together? So name, how we can define the properties. Now, when important is one more key point you need to remember is TypeScript object uses type inference. TypeScript object uses type inference. So this is one important question that you will come across in regular interviews. What is type inference? So technically, what is type inference and what is the type inference? So in many interviews, they ask that question. So what is the type inference, right? So what is type inference is nothing but actually type inference is a technique where the data type of the variable or a property will be decided according to the value. You don't need to explicitly define the data type. So type inference is nothing but, so actually type inference, type inference implicitly is a technique, actually is a technique used in a TypeScript language where the data type of any property, the data type of any property is determined according to the value defined. So it will not allow explicit types. That means you cannot manually define the data types. That means TypeScript objects and uses an inference type. Inference type means what? Here, I want to store the name and I am writing like this. So name, it is a string type. And here I want to store the value TV, the property and the value. So here it is not supported. It is not supported here. That means data type is not defined. Then directly you have to configure the value. Remember, you have to configure the value as a type also. That means colon indicates that 2 points, it indicates what type of value it is, at the same time what value it is. I hope you understood. That means it defines the type is a string and the value is TV. So that is what actually type inference is. So if anyone asks what is type inference means you don't need to define explicit data type. Whatever the value you define, that value type will be used as data type for that particular property. That's the reason we have a habit of writing like this, colon and that type. So that means you should not define any explicit data types for this. Second, I am defining price. And price is some price. We are configuring that price. So we are configuring the price. Then we defined in stock. So it is true. And here we are defining quantity is 2. And here we are defining total. Total is a function. And this function have to return the total. Here one more point is, that means now I am deleting all this. Here one more point is, so if you want to access the members, that means the members of an object, are accessible within the object by using this keyword, and outside object by using object name. That is important. That means if you want to access the members of an object, there are 2 points where you want to access. If you want to access inside the object, then this keyword. And when you want to access outside the object, then you have to use object name. That means here, I want this function to return quantity into price. And quantity and price are the members of the object. And you are accessing product object, and you are accessing only within this. When you are accessing within this, the object within the scope, then you have to use this dot quantity into this dot price. That's what we have to define. This dot quantity into this dot price. That is how we can configure. And I am adding one more function here, that is a print function. Print is also a function. Print is also a function. What this print function will do is console.log. It will print all the details, like name is equal to this dot name. We can access that and print. Similarly, in the next line, price is equal to dollar, this dot price. In the next line, we want to access the stock. Stock is equal to. I can write one expression here. How we can write the expression? So here I will use a ternary operator. You know ternary operator. So this dot in stock is equal to true. Then question mark, I will put available, right? Available. And a colon, otherwise I will put out of stock. That is generally a operator, ternary operator. If the condition is true, then it will print this. Otherwise it will print this. That is the stock. And here we have in the next line, quantity. Quantity is equal to, so this dot quantity. And I want to print in the next line, total. Total is equal to, we need to call the function. This dot total. Total is a function. We have to call through the parenthesis. So this is how we are defining a print function inside that object. Now important is that you can simply say that now this is all data related to only one product object. That means this all data is related to this product object. Remember, we have data and the logic. Data is in properties and the logic is in functions. Object comprises of all related type of data and logic. That is the key point about understanding about data and logic, right? This is the general basic thing, right? So you can slow down when you are learning JavaScript, you can do that, right? Here, if I slow down, then it will take 3-4 months for this TypeScript itself. So you need to follow, and you are a programmer, you can easily follow. Very simple. There is no confusion in this, right? So if you are not aware of programming, then a lot of issues will come. That's the reason I already told you that in the beginning. So have good knowledge of JavaScript, right? Now here the point is, so here we are dealing with object and functions. Now how we can access that? What is the advantage of this? We can reuse it. This object is now reusable. So we can configure with different types of values and use them. For example, I am not defining any standard data here. So name is an empty string. Price is just 0. And Boolean is just true. And here quantity is 0. So no specific values are defined into it. Now I want to use this for different types of products. We can reuse this. How you can reuse this object? What we have to define? Product.name. Product.name is equal to, we have to define the name Samsung TV. And we have product.price. And we have to define some price. And observe carefully here, when we are doing this, it is showing one problem. It says that, so this name and properties doesn't exist on the type object, because TypeScript latest versions only know this. Earlier versions don't know this. Then early versions, how they deal is, they deal this object as an any type. If I put that, then there will be no problem here. There will be no problem here. But we are learning the latest feature available. That's the reason we will put it as an object type. We can avoid that problem, especially when we are dealing with configuration of versions, right? That will not be an issue at all. Because it is the latest option, obviously it will prompt for the points like, so even TypeScript older versions also don't know this point, right? That's the reason it shows as a error. Until we configure the version, how to configure the version, we will learn in TypeScript configuration. Until that point, it will show this as an error. So we can avoid that. Generally, another option, product.quantity is equal to sum2. And we are defining product dot, so in stock is equal to some true, okay, boolean value, and just product dot print. That means we are printing the details. So this is the simple approach we have defined. Actually, you can avoid all these errors by using a traditional any type, but better to know about the new type available into TypeScript, that is object type. So you are configuring everything. Let's run this and see now. Let's run this and see now. I will compile this and run this. And when we run this, so it has to get the details and display. So this is not this program, another program now. Yeah, this is in objects, open in File Explorer. That is a different location, previous program that is. Okay, let's compile this now. tsc demo.ts, okay. And let's run this. So node demo.js, and you can see it will print all the details here. That means it is accessing the name, the price, the stock, the quantity, and the total. And we can reuse this. We can reuse this across any number of objects. That means we can reuse this. So that means I want another product related details. That means console.log, and I am just printing this separator here. And I will print here another product name, product price is in stock, and print the details. I will copy this and I will change the details here as some night casuals, okay. And here I defined some price and quantity, and is in stock is false, and we are configuring this print method. And you can compile and run this. And you can see when I compile and run this, we have two products related data now. So that means we are reusing the object. So we are reusing the object. You can see the same object is used for different. So that is what the intention of object. That means to encapsulate the data and logic so that you can reuse it. You can reuse and access and use it. That is the intention of using an object type. And for object type, we have a new data type called object in TypeScript, which you can use as object type. This is one example of how do we deal with the objects. So we have a combination now. We have arrays and we have objects. And we have a combination of array of objects. That's how to handle the array of objects that we will see in our next session. Tomorrow we'll see that. Hope you are clear with this. And one important is from today, so whatever the notes and the documentation, everything is there. So I'm not going to upload on GitHub anymore. So you have to get into Google. You download Google Classroom. It is available as an Android app, and you can open online on your browser Google Classroom and log in with your Google account. After you log in with your Google account into this Google Classroom, you have to join the classroom. So I will show you Google Classroom right here. This is the Google Classroom. So I created a classroom for us. And in this Google Classroom, yeah, this is Google Classroom. And this is the Google Classroom. So what you need to do is, I will send you a code. You have to log in with that code. So this is all the classes available. See, right side corner, when you log in into Google Classroom, it will ask an option. So join class, you click on join class and it will ask you the class code, and you use this class code. You use this class code. That is the class code you have to use, right? Yeah. So this is the class code you have to use. I will send you the class code. This is our class code. I am sending this class code. You join into the class code. Already TypeScript documentation is updated. Complete TypeScript documentation is updated into it. What you have to do is, after you join into this, so you will find our classroom is Angular 9 6 p.m. There is classwork category. Go to classwork category. You will find our TypeScript complete reference book. This is the complete TypeScript related PDF document. And every day classroom notes will be uploaded here. This arrays related concept I will update now, right? So, and the previous topics and the above, everything is present in this reference book. You can do that, right? So you join this from tomorrow onwards, today onwards, whatever exercises, examples, assignments, everything I will be conducting here. You can get in touch here. You can send messages. I can respond to that. If you are facing any issues, we will take care about that here, right? Everything we will do here now. So on GitHub, I am not going to upload anything. And important, please maintain correct discipline in this. If you post any type of comment wrong, I will simply block you. You will be permanently blocked. I don't care what you paid or anything, or I don't care. I will simply block you from these sessions. You can get out and you can attend some other sessions. Okay. Strictly come here only for learning the concept. That's it. Right. So if you do anything other than that, I will block everybody who are doing that. Okay. So make sure that you are perfectly utilizing this completely. I will upload every architecture diagram examples. We will take assignments also here. You can write assignments. I can go through the problems you are facing. I can respond to you step by step, because here comments are available and online, just like comments will trigger to you. You have an Android app, you can download from there also. Our classroom related everything will be uploaded here. From here, you can get updated. Okay. And the code for this classroom I sent to you in the chat box. You can copy and join this class. Right. Tomorrow we'll continue with this. Okay. Thank you.